Hello everyone, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we're going to do a fast and loose watercolor painting, and the concept of this one's going to be pretty simple. Watercoloring to decompress, to relieve stress. While I prep the paper, just a little background. If you haven't realized by now, I'm a school teacher. I teach math and physics, and school year is underway. Beginning of the school year is always stressful, and just a lot going on at work. So I'm just using art for what I originally started it for, which is to relax and to just zone out and have fun. With this one, I will take a kind of teaching aspect to it, like the other videos. Just kind of talking about what I'm doing, demonstrating other things, whatever thoughts are in my head with the experiment. But the image is going to be made up. I'm not going to work from a photo for this one. And we're just going to go with the flow. We're just going to have fun. I'll name the colors as I go along. I'll use the Ron Ranson Hake brush. I opened up a brand new one the other day and did a video on it. So you can go back and check that out if you want to see a difference between the two. I don't know if I'm quite ready to really use it yet, because there is a difference between a nice well-worn Hake brush and the new one. All right, that's being said, let's decide if we want to do a high horizon or a low horizon. I think it might be interesting if we switch things up to a high horizon. All right, so let's take a little bit of raw sienna and feed that in. That is a pretty high horizon right there. And then we'll map out a nice landscape, hopefully a nice landscape. Even if it's a bad landscape, who cares? We're relaxing, we're painting, we're having fun. All right, here's some cerulean blue. This is the Cotman brand cerulean blue. It's not real cerulean, it's the synthetic. We're getting a little bit of greenish push with it with that raw sienna mix. And let's hit the very top of that paper with a little bit of ultramarine. By the way, this paper is a quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua, 100% cotton, and 140-pound cold press. Let me bring these colors down, get a little bit of an idea how I want to map this out. Just bringing the color down just in case I have any water areas, meaning like lake, river, whatever. And I'll grab a little bit of raw sienna to map. Flatten my paper. It's also been very hot down here in Louisiana. In the 90s, and I put the AC on at 70, 75 when I leave the house, just to kind of keep it going some so it's not struggling when I get home. But it's struggling. All right, let's see. I'm gonna do some rolling hills. So no pencil sketching taking place. Somebody had asked that if I do any pencil sketches, and I don't usually put those or utilize them. One YouTube artist who is fantastic, who does use them, is Rick S. Check him out on YouTube. He has really high quality, great painting tutorials. And he also has a Facebook page, Friends of Rick S. I always say S because I always say I can't pronounce his name. It's Sucicw. If somebody could type the phonetic pronunciation down in the comments. That would be great. Another rolling hill. I think I might have some fog, maybe water. Maybe we'll do a kind of cliff area that we're looking out from. But yeah, so I was talking about Rick S. He does really good tutorials. He does some sketches that I don't know if he does the sketches on camera, but I think he already might time lapse the sketches and the masking fluid that he uses. But he has really good advice, and he's really good to watch if you're beginning. Which, listening to me say, hey, go check out this painter, click away from this YouTube page, might sound silly, but I want to provide you guys with the best resources possible. Or, hopefully you won't get bored of me. Go hop over there, hop back. Feed in a little bit of burnt sienna. I fed in a little bit of Payne's gray in here. I'm thinking what I will do is work my way back to front again and create this distant scene, create these rolling hills, mountains, maybe a fog or water, like I said, and then have big foreground tree elements. I wonder if I should go cerulean blue back here. It might be too bright. I didn't clean the brush. Maybe this guy, right back there. So that's a distant lake. Let's grab a little bit of Payne's gray, and we'll put that in along that edge. You can see how the cerulean is showing up as well. So I didn't clean the brush, and I have a mixture of colors on it. This will lighten quite a bit. That'll be our far distant. Let's catch some of the lower edges of these hills. And of course, you're always welcome to follow along with any one of these videos. Trying to think of how I would get it to kind of climb up into a hill. Kind of come to a peak. I feel like a lot of directional movement is going to be necessary for this to help it give it the effect of those sides brushing up. Okay. Now, let's grab some Payne's gray and some alizarin crimson. A little bit of variety in the sky. And far distant clouds. Okay. Mix a little bit of light red oxide with some ultramarine. And I'm going to use water now, just mainly to really thin out what I'm working with, but I'm going to have to be careful. So I'm going to pull some water out, grab some, because I don't want to get cauliflower effect. And try to brush in these distant hills. So you see how it's kind of pulling up that pigment back there? And that's fine. It's just that they're so far back there that in atmospheric or aerial perspective, they'll be pretty light. And I'm going to have other hills rolling in front and back. But I'm going to wait for the dry off to do the next one because I want to have nicer lines. Let's grab some raw sienna, burnt sienna into this mix. Here's the edge of a hill. The top portion of one. So you have this mountain range come across and leading here. Increase the concentration, mix some ultramarine blue in, start feeding it down and giving it that shape. So you see I'm just using movement. Let's look on this side right here. Form that mountain back there. And we'll have one here that cuts in front. I'm going to come back to these when we're dry. Let's see, I'll grab a little bit of water and move to my foreground. Some burnt sienna, Payne's gray. Start creating this cliff edge that we'll be standing on. So I have this outcrop here, maybe a little descent. We might even grab some lemon yellow. And let's start doing that to make this pop even closer right here on that edge. All right, so we have this white line here for the fog for falling into the mountains. Let's leave that there, and we'll just kind of break it up a little bit with trees down the line. But let's grab that Payne's gray and burnt sienna. We'll use a very textured effect to see how we want to kind of do tree ridge lines. And you want to vary the concentration of these. And as we get closer, we can give them more detail. Or you can play with the perspective and make ones visible in the far background. That's common in the Asian arts. It's almost dead center in the painting right there. Let's give this guy a little bit. Don't be afraid to put different textures. Honestly, this would probably be good for looking at an actual mountain range, playing around like this. It's that far lake, which I'll come in and play around with. It's crazy how relaxed I am now compared to the beginning of this video. And I would say we're probably about 15-20 minutes in. Let me check and see. We are 15 minutes in, 14 minutes in. Perfect. So we're at a good pace. Sorry. Also kind of like a little dehydrated, like probably not drinking enough water throughout the workday. Because, you know, being a school teacher, you can't run to the restroom nonstop, which is not fun. So I'm trying to bring out the tonal values here and make it pop forward. Get some different textures in it. So it's darker. Good textured. We're gonna have foreground trees coming up. Maybe I'll have a tree come from here. I'm kind of thinking here to balance, but I'm kind of thinking here to, I don't know. Let's see. A little bit darker. There. We got a little green back here, but that's fine. That'll bring this spot a little bit closer. Let's see. So no dry off. I'm gonna grab the number 4 rigger. I find this helps for large quantities of pigment. Excuse me, this is ultramarine blue with light red oxide. I want it more purple. It was way too dark as well. Create this back here where everything kind of blends together. I'll leave some gaps for texture. A little bit of burnt sienna just to warm it up a little bit, just to get a little variety. Mountain ridge far back here. The part that we had kind of lifted when we were going at first. It's starting to work really well with this. Okay. Grab a little bit of cerulean blue. I'll feed in some Payne's gray on that dark edge. Even do a little bit of a textured edge. And we can feed into these guys groupings of trees. Just little Payne's gray. Alright, so this is looking darker back here, but it's going to have to dry off. So we'll see how that dries. We'll grab the number 1 rigger. And I'll use a variety of ultramarine and burnt umber and Payne's gray with it to make different darks. And we can feed in some more foliage textures. Oh, that's a little too much. Then we got the paper towel, just lift it up. By the way, please consider liking and subscribing. That helps this channel out quite a bit. If you'd like to help the channel financially, since there's free content, you can check out the links down below of the Patreon where you can donate and sign up, and there's free content. You can also check out, other ways if you'd like to donate. And it goes to art supplies, art experiments, and different stuff. I was just using this dry brush effect. Okay. Now we did say we could do a little bit more obvious tree elements. So dots, you can even draw in and paint in little trees. And if you ever want to zone out and relax, that's a great way to do that. Oh, Harrison, you can't be jumping from box to box, buddy. Well, he's gonna try. Harrison. There's a spot up high that they like to get to in the art room. Let's, we can put our tree elements here and make them small in this regard, like this. Kind of come across and start doing that kind of classical pine tree look. We could use the hake to kind of quicken this part if we want. And then we can have our big ridge. I'll grab some Payne's Gray just to do it right up here. Like, here's the rock. Then I'm thinking some straight pine trees right in that front corner. Or I guess it'd be pine trees. I don't know. They're Broussard trees. Bring that straight up. So I really don't want to hide those cloud elements. I really like the way that sky came out. Do our shadows going off the edge and then grounding them. I'm gonna do a quick dry off. Let me pause the camera. I wanted to do that just because we started to get that blending, and with this phase we don't get as much, like the dry off phase. Now we won't get as much of a tonal shift, or we'll have a tonal shift, but it won't be as light. So grabbing Payne's Gray, grab some raw sienna if I can. If that's way too, well, no, let's go for it. Trying to do this on the side that would be kind of showing a little bit of that lighter. Anyway, I'll grab some burnt umber mixed with that ultramarine for this other side. Let's grab the #1 rigger. Grab that dark. pull some elements off of these. A little concerned that I'm just making too much of an element near the edge of the painting, but that's fine. For two reasons. It's just a big object near the edge, but it'll give an L-shaped composition slightly, as well as viewing in with that kind of triangles and serpentining up. I'm also worried that the matte would cover it some, but I think that would give it a better effect too, being slightly covered. So we can take the hake, just pull up some texture. Now, in my classroom, I have a painting hanging up. It's just a print of Thomas Cole's Horseshoe Bend, and you know, you're walking around, you're teaching and all that, and I'll sometimes look at it and I notice there's a lot of tiny detail in it, and excuse me, I think there's different groups of flights of birds in it throughout. I wonder if that inspired subconsciously this view, that painting. So I'm going to put those little groups of birds in. I did think about using the micron pen. Let me pause this. Remember this old rapidograph, that Core Honor? I'm not sure the brand. Made in Germany. Yeah, Kohinoor. That I traded for, and then I restored it, got it in working condition, and it has some platinum carbon ink in it, which is a good fountain pen ink, very light, fast, but it could clog fountain pens. In fact, I was a little concerned it would clog this guy. It's been a while since I used it, but it's a good ink to have. Just be careful what you put it in. Look at those flight of birds coming up. We can do birds over here. We could even put a little boat out on the lake. Give it that Hudson River Valley feel. A lot of birds, a lot of movement. Just gives the viewer a lot of stuff to find. And we must only be, I'm just guesstimating, 25, 30 minutes into this video. And we're near the end, and we already have a lot of things to look around and view and really have fun. You can go into a lot more detail. Put little tree lines on that back edge of that lake. Put some foliage in. I'm going very gently here, just so that we can still see the sky through it. Oh, you got the sneezels, Hammy. Sometimes our cats sneeze. Let me do a quick pause for a dry off. All right, we'll put a mat over it, we'll sign it. really pretty happy with this one. The high horizon is something that I like to experiment with once in a while. And with this one, it really worked out well for us. So, like I said, you're always welcome to follow along. And you have my express permission to sell anything you do. That if you follow along with one of these tutorials, you have my permission. Write your own name on it. I want you to be successful. Art supplies are expensive. And you know, having art, selling art, putting art up on the wall, it's a great thing to do. I'm going to pull the camera off of here so we can see. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great day.